I'm so excited to bring you this episode today. It's a juicy one. Sometimes manifesting can seem really woo-woo. It can seem rainbows and butterflies, and, it can seem unrealistic to some people. And that is a belief system that needs to be kicked in the butt. But I totally get that too. On Instagram and Pinterest, it can be sensationalized. It can be, made to be like unicorns and magic, and it is, right? But there's a flip side to it too. And that's what I want to talk about today is, what do you do when your manifestations don't manifest? I get this question a lot. What happens when shit doesn't work out? Sometimes you'll write things down, you'll visualize them, you'll feel them, and they don't manifest. At least not the way you wanted them to, right? And I'm going to dive into energy and talking about this because energy is very intricate. Energy is subtle, it's sensitive, and sometimes we think we're at the same exact energetic frequency of our desires, and it turns out that we're not. And that's important too. So we're going to dive into that today. I hope you're ready for this episode. It's important to look at the good things and the things that seem hard, because when we work through the hard stuff or the challenging stuff, that is what makes us better badass manifestors, right? So we're going to dive into that. And something really exciting is happening this week. I'm hosting a 5-day Manifest Angel Numbers Challenge. And it's actually really tied into this episode. So I'm excited to share it all with you guys. Welcome to the Badass Manifestor Podcast. Keeping you inspired with high vibe content, bringing you the best manifestation and mindset tools, teachings, interviews, and answering questions to help empower you to get out of your own way and take massive action to make magic your everyday normal. I'm your host, Ashley Gordon, spiritual life and manifestation coach, helping women and spiritual entrepreneurs manifest more impact, influence, and income. It is my purpose and pleasure to help you wake up to the badass creator that you are. Let's do this. Sometimes I'll get the question of, Ashley, you mean your manifestations sometimes don't work out? And I'm like, yes, that's what makes me so powerful, right? When I have things that don't work out, it actually makes me that much more clear on how to align my energy. And so I want you to know this right off the bat. Like, tip number 1, if your manifestations aren't working out, it does not mean that you're not powerful. It doesn't mean that you should stop manifesting your dreams. It doesn't mean shit, you guys. It really doesn't. Like, that's what you have to understand. This is what we do. We make little things mean big things. And then we get caught up in meaningless shit and spiral downward with negative thoughts. So if something doesn't go your way, boo-hoo, feel sad for like 5 seconds, and don't make it mean that you're a loser or you're not good enough, because that is where we go wrong in humanity. And it's not just with manifesting, right? It's like if something doesn't go right in general, okay, which is all manifestation, wink, wink, by the way, we make it mean so much. So here's a practice that I find interesting. I do with my clients sometimes in the middle of a session. I'll just like point to the desk or point to my phone or point to something, and I just want you to look at whatever your eye catches and ask yourself, what does this mean? What does this thing mean? And you might come up with things like, my cell phone could mean like it's my communication tool, or it's this or it's that. But all those meanings are meanings that we've attached to it. But inherently, everything's meaningless. So that's the thing, is we got to stop assigning meaning when things aren't going our way. Because sometimes relationships, they don't go our way. Does that mean that we don't deserve love? Absolutely not. Sometimes our businesses, they take a turn for, something that we didn't expect. Does that mean that we're like unsuccessful business people? If you want to think that, you can, sure. But it doesn't mean that, Like, think about Thomas Edison. He had to try to create the light bulb, like, I don't even know how many times, like hundreds upon hundreds of times. until he actually got it to work. Did that mean that he was a failure? No, it didn't. So my number one tip is stop making it mean so much when things don't go your way. Okay? You got to stop, because then you're perpetuating that reality and it makes it worse. So then you're attracting other things to not go your way, and then you become the victim of those things, and you're like, man, like I was right. My life does suck, you know? It doesn't have to be that way. So if you can nip those thoughts in the bud and just be like, yeah, you're right. Like, okay, I made it mean this, or I made it mean that. Is that true? No, it's not. Move on. So that's the first and foremost thing, because we're magnetic beings. So everything we think about holds energy, and everything we think about, we draw it to ourselves, because we are literally magnets to reality. So everything that you see, everything in your experience, all of your circumstances, you pulled that into yourself. You created that on some level. So what we spiral into, we attract more of, whether it's good or bad. It goes both ways. You know this. So what if you could let go of the meaning and just be in your experience, right? It doesn't mean you don't have feelings. You may still feel strongly about what's happening, but you can feel your way through it, feel your actual emotions, but don't drown in those emotions, because that's not the point of emotions. You know, our emotions, they are our guide. They are not our glue, okay? We're not supposed to be stuck in them, right? They're supposed to guide us. They're telling us whether or not we're on the right track. Feels good, go that way. Feels bad, reroute. It's really simple. In my course that I'm launching, the cart is actually open for, it's called Create Your Life on Purpose. I deep dive into emotions, and I really, really help you understand your emotions on a very, very deep level for you to really like transform the way you actually feel, to know that your emotions are your compass, and to rewire yourself to trust in that compass. So it's really powerful stuff. I'll drop the link in the show notes for the course, because right now it's at a crazy low pre-launch price that you're gonna want to get your hands on. I want to tell you something. When your manifestations don't work out in your eyes and from your view, you should know this. You're still gonna get where you're going. Yeah, you're still gonna get where you are going. So I live by the rule that everything happens for the highest good of me and everyone involved, and that everything's actually happening for me. And if you listen to this podcast, you know that I believe that and I teach that. And I want to know what would happen if you took that rule on, right? Like if you could live by the rule that everything happens for the highest good of you and everyone involved. And so you have to roll with it, okay? Like my second tip is you have to roll with what happens. And my third tip is you have to keep the faith. You've got to keep the faith no matter what happens. No matter what it is, you can't allow things to steal your joy, okay? You got to be a stand for like your joy, you know? Stand for your joy. Nothing can steal your joy unless you let it. Unless you put the source outside of yourself and you're like, you know what? That just happened over there. That person did that to me. Or, you know, my car broke down. Now I have to pay all this money. And like that could steal your joy if you let it. But do you have to let it? Do you? I'm just curious. Because, you know, it's a practice not to let things steal your joy. For sure, it is. But you gotta be a stand for your joy. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean it's not annoying or frustrating or seemingly unfair when things don't turn out the way that you thought that they were going to or they should have. You know, you must stay true to the belief that it's all still working out for you no matter what. Because like I said, you're going to get where you're going. You're still going to get where you're going. So I've shared this before in my Facebook group, but I was just traveling for a whole month. And on our way to Greece, we booked a flight from New York to Athens. And we have a friend who's a pilot, so we booked it on a buddy pass, which is pretty cool, right? Buddy passes are super fun, reasonable, and we were like, okay, let's wing it. So on a buddy pass, you're not guaranteed a seat, right? And the pilot warned me, and he was like, you might not get on this flight. And I was like, do you know that I'm a manifestation coach? Like, I'm good. I'm going to get on the flight. And he was like, okay. So long story short, we didn't get on the flight. It was full, and there were 8 other people on standby. And I had this whole scenario written out. Like, before I left for New York, before we left for our trip, I went to the point, to this like rocky sunset place where I live, and I journaled out that we were going to get on the plane. We got first class on the plane, that we were sipping champagne on the plane, and I had this whole thing journaled out. We were laughing, and we were like smiling and, having so much fun. None of that happened. That did not happen. Okay? And the lady next to us said that there was a flight from New York to Paris that had openings, and we should try and get on the flight while we were waiting. So we did. It was like 45 minutes after the original flight. We were rebooked on the buddy pass super quick, and I couldn't find it felt super rushed, and I was like pretty stressed out at this point. And I was like bugging out, trying to find a flight to get us from Paris to Athens, because then we had to go from Athens to Santorini. And I couldn't find a flight from Paris to Athens that was like reasonable. So, not to mention, it was just a total gamble. We were just like, all right, let's just go. And we got on the plane to Paris. We sat down in our seats. I buckled my seatbelt. My husband buckled his. And I was like, I have such a bad feeling right now. And he was like, you do? Why? He's like, no, we're going to be fine. He's like, screw it. We'll go to Paris. It'll be great. We'll get to Greece. And I was like, yeah, no. I was like, I think we need to get off this plane right now. And he was like, what? No. He's like, we're good, Ash. Just like, relax. All good, girl. And I was like, Todd, we're getting off of this plane. Please just trust me. So everyone's boarded. They almost closed the doors. I go to the flight attendant and I was like, listen, we're leaving this plane. We're getting off. And he was like, why? And I was like, I just have a feeling that our luggage is not on this flight. And he was like, okay, well, let me check for you. So he checks in the computer and he's like, you're right. Your luggage is not on this flight. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, we're getting off. Thank you so much. Like, we had to get off. And I got off the plane and I was like, oh my goodness. My intuition was on point, okay? I was right. Our bags were not on the plane. So we get off the flight to Paris. We go back to the booking desk. We're like, hi, we're here again. I'm really stressed out at this point. I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. Like, how are we freaking going to get to Athens? Because I had another flight booked for a certain time from Athens to Santorini that I was trying to make still. Wasn't looking good for that flight. So she was like, all right, you'll go to Brussels. Brussels? I'm like, okay. So we get rebooked on the flight to Brussels. And I found a flight from Athens to Brussels for $35 each plus tax and bags. And so total for both of us, guess how much it was? It was 111 euros for both of us. So that was a huge sign for me because I'm a huge angel number chick. Love angel numbers. And I'm actually hosting a Manifest Angel Numbers Challenge starting today, November 12th. And I was like, okay, $111. That's our sign. Like, we're going to Brussels. Okay. The angels were guiding us. So I booked it. I changed the flight, the other flight from Athens to Santorini. It was only $36, which is actually double chai in the Jewish religion. So 18 is to life. And so it was double chai. I was like, okay, great. And then when we got to Brussels, I had a Belgian waffle. And it was really good. I was like, maybe I'm supposed to go to Belgium to have a Belgian waffle. I don't know. It didn't happen the way I planned it. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to be miserable about it and generate bad vibes from my vacation? Or am I going to roll with it and keep the faith, right? Am I going to have flexibility, behavioral flexibility with what's happening around me? Because we're all being guided too, and sometimes it's easy to forget that, especially when shit's not working out. But I was like, okay, well, obviously I'm being guided to Belgium. And I was, right? For whatever reason, you might not know the reason. But if you have enough faith to know that you are being guided, sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's enough to just go with it. We got to Santorini, slowly but surely. And we check in, and I'm exhausted at this point. I'm just like over traveling. It was way more travel than we originally planned. We were getting a straight flight to Athens, but it wasn't a straight flight anymore. So anyway, I was tired. The lady was super nice at the desk. She checks us in. She takes us to our room. She goes, "Oh, your room number is 111. You won't forget that." I was like, oh my goodness. Angels. I was like, immediately, I knew that it was going to be an amazing, amazing vacation because I just felt so guided. I felt carried. I felt like, okay, I can really trust in these signs that I'm getting that, everything that we went through that we did not plan, it all worked out. It really did. What's interesting is, I could have stayed in a bad state. I could have stayed in a negative vibe. I could have allowed myself to be miserable and say, damn this trip, maybe we're not supposed to go, right? And I realized that, we don't have time to waste like that. I was stressed for a minute. I felt it in my neck and in my shoulders. And, that was going to make my massage in Santorini that much better, right? The best part is I wouldn't have been inspired to share this story if all that shit didn't happen. Because it's all happening for you and for me, right? Like, you're meant to hear this and I'm meant to share this. And that's how it all turns out, right? It's all happening the way that it's supposed to happen. And this is also one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this Manifest with Angel Numbers challenge. Because if I can get you manifesting angel numbers effortlessly, then I'm getting you in the practice of asking for what you want. I'm getting you in the practice of letting go of the outcome, releasing your attachment to how it's going to manifest. I'm getting you in the practice of focusing on what you want. I'm getting you in the practice of manifesting something that you have no attachment around. And so if you can manifest angel numbers, well, you can manifest anything. And it's getting you in the practice of seeing the signs and building your faith muscle. And when you do all those things, you enhance your manifestation power. And that's my goal. My goal is to help you be a badass manifester. And so we're going to do it with angel numbers, and we're going to go big. We're going to go all in. We're going to ask bold, and we're going to do it together because that's powerful. When you get a community of people together to focus on really honing in on their powers, that is so powerful. So that's my intention behind this challenge. And the challenge is going to be introing the course launch that I'm doing. So right now the cart is open for Create Your Life on Purpose, which is a course to help you connect to your calling and live your life on purpose and in your purpose. And so in this course, I have a formula that helps you get to your calling in one sentence. One sentence. In the course, you'll learn a whole new way to interact with your emotions. You'll learn what your calling is. Yes, you will. You'll also learn how to take action in alignment with your calling. And more so, manifesting your life in alignment with your calling. It's really a higher level way of manifesting because we dive into being of service in humanity and being of service to others. And this is beyond manifesting, a romantic relationship or a car or a house or material things. This is really manifesting your purpose in the world. It's kind of a big deal. And you know what's cool about it is that like everything that we talked about in this episode, right around, what if my manifestations don't work out? I feel so guided to be doing what I'm doing right now. And so if something doesn't work out the way that I scripted it out to be or visualized it to be or hope to manifest it to be, I know that I am a vessel for greater work to work through me. I'm a vessel for God, higher power, angels, messengers to work through me. And so if that means being on a different airplane than I was supposed to be on, or when something doesn't go the way that I planned it out to be, I give it up to the fact that whatever's happening is happening for the highest good. And I can trust it even more because I know that I'm living in my purpose and in my calling. So let's recap this, okay? Tip number 1 for when your manifestations don't manifest is stop making it mean so much when things don't go your way. Because when we make it mean something, we put a lot of weight on it and we perpetuate that same reality and we create more realities like it because we're magnetic beings, right? And we become the victim in those situations. And sometimes it's easy to play that role. But number 1, stop making it mean so much. Number 2, roll with it. Gotta go with the flow without resisting. Universe loves the path of least resistance. So when things don't seem to be going your way, instead of pushing against it, fighting it, hating on it, we actually create more of it. So what we resist persists, right? And then number 3, keep the faith no matter what. No matter what happens, you gotta keep the faith. And you have to be a stand for your joy. All of this requires you being a stand for your joy. And then number 4, trust that you're a vessel for the universe to work through you. And that may mean a reroute. And you have to use these 4 tips to help you stay in alignment with the fact that you are here to be of service in some way, shape, or form. And that may require something to happen for you to be able to actually do that. So just trust the process. Trust the process. I know it's one of the hardest things for all of us to do because we want to control everything. And the truth is we only have control over our thoughts and our feelings. And that's it. That's it. And for a lot of people, they don't even, think that they have control over that. But you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't think that you had somewhat of the power and a say in the situation, and you do. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope that this inspires you to stay powerful and to stay true to what you want, and just know that when you set intentions, like for me, for example, I set an intention to be a vessel, to be of service in a big way. And so my, plain example of my travel, so my travel troubles and challenges were given to me as a gift to be able to share it with you. And it also made me appreciate my vacation more. It also made me see signs that maybe I wouldn't have seen before. It did so much more than just get me to Santorini a few hours late. And so we always have that choice whether we want to focus on everything that's wrong or see it as a learning opportunity and see it as a blessing. And sometimes it takes a little longer for that to happen, and that's cool too. But if you can make that transition, then you're being at cause for your life. And when you're at cause, you're a badass manifester. So keep rocking and rolling. And if you are in the challenge, I'm so happy you're part of it. And if you're just listening to this and you're like, wait, there's a challenge? What are you talking about? Join in anyway on the fun. Come join in. The link is in the show notes. Even if it's weeks later, you'll be able to take advantage of it. Also, create your life on purpose. If you're someone who is feeling lost, feeling like you need some direction as to how you're meant to be of service in the world, as to what your purpose is, as to how you can really make the impact that you want to make, take my course. Like I said, it's at a pre-launch price. It's $197. I made it a self-paced program, so you'll be able to do the modules at your own pace, but I know that you'll just consume all the content in one setting because it's truly life-changing. And there is a bonus because everything is pre-recorded content. You get one live bonus coaching call with me and unlimited support from me in our private Facebook group. I can't wait to welcome you in the program. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot, tag me on Instagram. I love all the love, and I'm all about sharing the good vibes. So please share it with anyone you think would really benefit from this episode and from any other episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Badass Manifester podcast. I love manifesting Mondays with you. And there's so much more in store right here. The best way to manifest love is to give love. If you loved what you heard today, subscribe to the Badass Manifestor podcast. Leave a review on iTunes. Let me know how much you dig the energy here. All of my social is linked up in the show notes, so screenshot this episode, tag me on Instagram, and let me be part of your real-time journey. For more info on me, feel free to go to my website, manifestwithash.com. Repeat after me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. Go get 'em.